Whistle! Hey there, jocks and cheerleaders. It's me, Coach Dr. Jordan Breeding, and this is your Brain on Crack, the only show on the internet sporting every sport. Ball, stick, net, infield, outfield, Garfield, those are just some of the advanced sports words that you're going to hear in this episode, where I diagnose. There's a reason why two of the most popular sport movie subgenres are nerdy underdogs defeating big mean jocks and animals excelling in a sport, because those are exactly the types of things that you dream up while smoking weed and skipping gym. The point is that people who go on to become screenwriters may not always be sports experts and often seem a little baffled why people would willingly do stuff that makes their skin cry smelly water. This results in a bunch of weirdly specific and recurring misconceptions about sports and physical activity in movies and TV shows. Well, at least, amateur sports like. TV writers secretly believe that playing pretend combat inherently brings out our worst qualities and pumps us full of steroids. To clarify, pretend shooting people in video games is fine, but when you have to move your lower body to do it, it's like lap dancing on Satan. As such, paintball is constantly demonized in fiction, sometimes literally. In the show Good Omens, an angel and a demon in asexual love with each other try to hunt down the Antichrist and investigate a convent that once used to house a satanic order hoping to usher in the apocalypse. But they discover that the convent has been converted into a paintball course run by one of the Satanist nuns. There are at least 11 different sports in the world, and yet they chose to link paintball to a literal devil cult? Why? Is it because paintball is competitive? Well, so is Monopoly, and more people have been maimed by trying to take Boardwalk from me than on any modern battlefield. Regardless, TV and movie paintball consistently not only brings out the worst in people, but also the worst people, like in Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, where Jason stumbles upon a bunch of office workers, playing paintball, and he goes balls out painting the scenery with their blood.
Yeah, that's right.
Then you have the cast of The Big Bang Theory, who A, are a bunch of terrible people, and B, go paintballing on at least 4 occasions.
Geology isn't a real science!
And that's despite the show making numerous jokes about how this group of scientists hate physical exertion. So it's kind of weird that paintball is the one outdoor activity they enjoy, or it would be if the show's writers weren't secretly trying to tell us all along that Sheldon is evil, and if we don't stop watching now, he's gonna one day manifest as Rosemary's ugly ass baby. Community also has 2 separate instances where a paintball tournament transforms an entire community college campus into a post-apocalyptic dystopia, because the power to paint is also the power to destroy.
Tell the drama club their tears will be real today.
To take this even further, it's not exactly the same because it's less intense and much, much sadder to see an adult doing it, but sometimes shows will just replace paintball bottleneck episodes with laser tag bottleneck episodes to keep things spicy, and again, very, very sad.
He's beaten!
But the same narrative rules seem to apply. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the show about 5 psychopathic alcoholic assholes, was always destined to have a shooty sport episode. And in the season 14 finale, Waiting for Big Mo, which was inspired by Waiting for Godot, because I cannot stress enough how much screenwriters are separated from the world of sports, the Always Sunny gang goes to a laser tag arena, which somehow amplifies all of their worst qualities. Dennis becomes more manipulative, Charlie gets dumber, and in general, the gang just succumbs to their baser instincts, which I know happens every episode, but this time even more base. And how based am I, right, kids? And sports have bases too. I'm athletic. Sports. Anyway, How I Met Your Mother's Barney, an all-around amoral womanizer and possible psychopath, would totally fit in with the Always Sunny gang like a glove. A base ball glove. Sports. Anyway, Barney loves laser tag, and in one episode completely and kind of uncharacteristically flips his lid while playing. The sport made him even more Barney-y, and nobody wants that. Man, who hurt you, Hollywood writers? Or more specifically, who gave you a wedgie while you impotently shot at them with your harmless laser gun? And also, after a long day of not playing sports, I like to kick back with the greatest mobile game of all time, Raid Shadow Legends, which you can download for free for PC and mobile right now at the link in our description. It's almost like playing a sport, but you don't have to move. So it's the best kind of sport. Look, everybody knows that Raid is a huge game, but it's about to get huger.
Literally. They've just added their biggest boss yet, the Hydra. It's got a whole mess of heads, and it can do crap like push damage from itself onto your team, scare your champions, rot them from the inside like Taco Bell, and tons of other stuff. I mean, look at this thing. Don't you want to, like, cut a couple of its heads off? Even better, between now and January 28th, Raid is giving away a super limited edition champion to every player in the game. Some of you may recognize him already. It's esports legend and Navi superstar Simple. All you have to do is log in for 7 days between now and January 28th, and he's yours. If you miss that date, you die. Or, I mean, you just don't get him, which is the fate worse than death. But seriously, bosses based on mythical creatures and champions based on esports legends aside, Raid is actually surprisingly fun to play. I freaking love how detailed the graphics are, and there are few things in life more satisfying than raining arrows down on my foes' domes. All you gotta do to hit the ground running is click the link in our description or scan the QR code and you'll get an epic champion, Aina, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in game. Those specific rewards will only be available for the next 30 days, and only for new players. So hurry up and click the link in the description so I can watch you get destroyed in game, which again is better than playing sports.
Gravity Falls is an animated show about twins solving paranormal mysteries in Oregon, except for when it becomes an R-rated Cronenbergian horror. One of the show's main characters is Mabel, which to clarify rhymes with table and glable, just in case you doubted that she was so quirky.
It also rhymes with
A more relevant thing you need to know about old quirky Mabel is that she loves mini-golf and is really good at it. This comes in handy in the episode The Golf War, where Mabel challenges her rival to a mini-golf tournament and comes across a race of mini-golf ball people called Lilliputians.
The name makes more sense written out than spoken.
But that's just the front 9 of this trope, because it also appears in the Fox animated comedy Bless the Hearts. Think King of the Hill, but in North Carolina. The main character, Jenny Hart, is hyper positive and talks to Jesus on the reg, which is, kind of a normal thing for a lot of people, but in her case, JC talks back.
In Twilight, Jacob was the sexy one.
He also lives in a mural in the restaurant that she works at and is one sassy little number.
I'm sorry I ate you and sprayed you and threw you in the garbage.
So that alone tells you that Jenny is a little offbeat, but all doubt is removed when it's also revealed that Jenny is a prodigy-level mini golfer. But if we're talking about quirky female volcanoes of positivity, we have to mention the patron saint of such characters. Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation, who is, check this out, a government employee who cares about her community and the greater good? Quirky.
I stand behind my decision to avoid salad and other disgusting things.
She also has a crush on Joe Biden back when he was still just a VP and just a shredded slice of 68-year-old man meat or whatever. And she always carries emergency s'more rations in her car, which is goofy. So naturally, what does she play during one of the few times we see Leslie play a sport and get really into it? Here's a hint. Rods, balls, holes. Sorry, that felt weird. The answer was mini golf. Again, I really dropped the ball there. Sports. Also, a one-off character in Sweet Life of Zach and Cody named Ella is very good at mini golf, and the wiki says, Ella is an average height. She wears casual clothes, not too fancy, yet not low quality. Ella is fairly bulky, but not fat at all. In addition, Ella had long, frizzy/curly hair. Is that quirky? No! But is the writer of that blurb gonna murder somebody someday and I felt the need to warn the internet before it happens? Probably. How did you know? Look, there's nothing particularly weird about being good at mini golf, but when writers decide that only women are proficient or passionate about it, it feels like they're trying to tell us something. Like maybe that mini golf is cute and colorful, so it's the perfect sport for ladies, while real golf should be left to the badass men. Even Happy Gilmore sucks at mini golf, and he's a mostly professional golfer.
Hey, my girlfriend's dead,
Guess he wasn't adorable or female enough. Or maybe he's just better at pool, because when you think about it, pool and mini golf aren't that different. It's still just essentially rods, balls, and holes, only the holes are closer together, and you hold your sports stick weird. But that small change in grip seems to metaphorically transform the stick into Lucifer's penis. Because most times when you see someone shooting pool on screen, chances are that they're a bad guy. because that's how metaphors work. Yes. Now, this isn't a totally random choice because billiard or pool halls in the 60s and 70s were known, whether justifiably or not, as seedy, sketchy places that had gambling and drinking and other things that we now know are awesome. That's why when Jiminy Cricket lists all the vices of Pleasure Island and Pinocchio, he said drinking, smoking, playing pool.
Your cock off!
But all that was well over half a century ago, and historically, a lot of totally normal things were once accused of ruining society, like bicycles, because people were afraid that women would use them to meet up with men for premarital sex. But if you made a bunch of movies today featuring bike harlots, which please do, people would be rightfully a little confused. And yet the aged-out, obsolete stereotype of the evil pool player remains to this day, despite the world's top pool and snooker players essentially being math nerds with just really developed muscles in one arm, which is true of most nerds. You masturbators. Anyway, we see pool shooting gangsters in modern shows and movies like Daredevil, The Sopranos, Law & Order, and CSI, but it's weirder when movies and shows feel the need to establish their non-gangster characters' evil bona fides by having them play pool or stand next to a pool table or just own one. That happened with Alfred Molina's evil bishop in The Da Vinci Code and Lex Luthor in Superman Returns. Hell, whenever Batman and basically any medium has to go into a seedy bar to get information, it's always storyboarded the exact same way. Batman enters. A bunch of dudes look up from their pool table, attack him with their cues, and end up with so many bruises, it looks like somebody rubbed the blue chalk all over them. And fun fact, nobody knows what that stuff does. And anyone who's ever put it on their cue is faking it. Just like condoms. Now, there are exceptions to this rule, like Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince or Danny from Full House, both of whom are definitely good guys and pool prodigies. Unless the shows are dropping hints about an implied dark past where they beat people to death with cue balls. But the evil pool player stereotype is so ingrained in our pop culture it even pops up in fantasy and sci-fi shows, like when the vampire Spike taunts Buffy in Buffy the Vampire Slayer about killing two of her predecessors over a game of pool. Or in Firefly when Nathan Fillion talks to a space slave trader, which is like a regular slave trader, but in space, while they're playing a game of hollow pool. So even in the distant future, bad guys still love to bend over and put some balls in holes. And yes, that's a very awkward and nerdy way to phrase it, but also, it's pretty cool. Which segues nicely into my next point. Why are sports the only job where workers require and receive constant motivation? And why did it apparently start with somebody saying, hey, why don't we start with a harem of hot girls and skirts so short they technically count as belts? But if that doesn't do the trick, let's just go with John Muppets designed by Jim Henson Gardner. And I have no idea who this anti-Ted Lasso was, but for reasons unknown, this idea caught on. And now sports mascots are a terrifying, creepy, 100% unnecessary thing. And in movies, they're also something else. A way for upbeat, fun losers to participate in a sport without having to show up for practice.
This is important for sports!
It's actually kind of suspect how many sports mascots in movies and TV shows are played by unsporty, but confident, and therefore secretly kind of cool losers. I'm not suggesting this is a way for writers to metaphorically put themselves in their stories and live out some high school fantasy about being part of the team in a believable way, because there's nothing metaphorical about it, especially on Blue Mountain State, where the show's creator, Chris Romano, literally plays Sammy, the mascot of the titular Blue Mountain State University football team.
I'm gonna rip your ears off!
And also a massive, albeit extremely confident loser who lives in the team's frat house closet and is basically their, well, not slave, like that's not the right word, but it's in the ballpark. Sports. Similarly, the good-hearted and utterly confident loser Bobby Hill from King of the, okay, that's what the title means. Anyway, in the episode What Makes Bobby Run, he briefly becomes the school mascot because, again, there are two wolves raging inside him, and one of them is apparently named Landry Longhorn. This becomes even clearer in Easy A movie where a bunch of people lie about having sex with Emma Stone, which kind of makes it a documentary.
Why would a fellow want a girl like her?
In it, the guy from You plays Stone's love interest, Todd, who's by all accounts a nice, decent guy. However, he is also their school's mascot, Woodchuck Todd, which he finds demeaning because the year before he was the Blue Devil, which is way cooler. Suddenly, Todd is wearing an embarrassing woodchuck costume, which is affecting his sexiness, you know, because mascots are usually sexy. Then, in the 2011 slasher comedy Detention, the main character, Riley Jones, who is the self-proclaimed biggest loser in her high school, despite still looking better than basically anybody I know in real life and having a boyfriend, plays the mascot for a bit. But what a loser! Even though she's cool and attractive. How is this tension even possible? And Riley is also a near exact copy of Catherine Newton's character, Millie Kessler, from the 2020 slasher comedy Freaky, who also is a total, albeit extremely attractive and ultimately cool loser, and the school's mascot. Weirder yet, the Vince Vaughn movie, just like Detention, is also about switching bodies, and, well, he kisses a teen boy, which according to the rules means 10 minutes in the penalty box. Get in your sports prison and think about what you've done.
Probably like 100 times.
Think fast. Oh. Sports.